Hello, my name is Michael O'Keefe, aka The Movie Wist. If you enjoy this interview and want to hear more top-notch film industry conversations, please press the thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell to stay in the know. Hello, Brett and Drew Pierce. Why do you think horror fans will dig The Wretched?
I think because it's a new take on the witch story, and it's a creature feature, and it's like a roller coaster ride. We went into it trying to make a fun horror movie, because we felt like recently there's a lot of very dark horror movies, which we love a lot of those too, but we wanted to make something that was fun and also scary. So we were like, let's build a roller coaster and make a movie.
Cool. How has coronavirus changed your lives?
It hasn't changed our lives a ton in a weird way because we're quarantined. This is my apartment, and Drew's house is about 2 miles from my place. So
we sit inside and write all day anyway, and just talk about stories.
And annoy our girlfriends and wives with the fact that we're like working from home, talking about movies 24/7. So
yeah, so I mean,
so it's kind of the same thing that was going on before.
Fair enough. How was attending the Fantasia International Film Festival with this movie last year?
It was amazing. I had never been to either of us had been to the Fantasia Film Festival previously, and it was just such a good time. The crowds were amazing; they were really into it, and we didn't realize that there was such like an industry presence there too. Because when you finish an indie movie, you're always trying to like get it into the best film festival. There's always like this race for Sundance or one of the sort of the big festivals that everybody in the world knows. But the Fantasia Film Festival wound up being such a great launching point for us because we played in the biggest theater. It's like a 750 seat theater, I think, and sold out and had this amazing response. And because there's this market that runs simultaneously, it's not a market, it's like a film.
It's called Frontiers.
Frontiers.
Yeah.
What is it called though?
It's just Frontiers.
Yeah, Frontiers.
Yeah. It basically a huge portion of the industry, all these production companies and press is there. So when we dropped the movie and it got such a great response, Variety had seen it, people from CA had seen it, and a bunch of other outlets, and really responded well to it.
It really opened the doors for us with the film. Like it was night and day, So yeah.
So it exceeded expectations.
Oh yeah. We were so happy to be in Fantasia because we just had heard great things, and the people that run that festival are just some of the nicest people in the world too, but it was, more than we ever thought that we were going to get out of that. Like coming out of that, we got invited to so many other film festivals, and the path to getting the movie distributed to IFC kind of started there. So like the whole road and journey of the movie coming out this last year was because of Fantasia. So.
Cool. So do you think horror movies are currently more appealing during this anxiety-inducing period of time we're in right now?
Probably horror movies and rom-coms.
Yeah.
People want to escape. And I think, when you watch a horror movie, it releases endorphins, and it's just sort of it's a nice,
Yeah, for some reason, like watching horror movies, like gets rid of my anxiety. Like it lets my anxiety out by being like scared by something. So I have noticed a lot of people are like, even people that I know that aren't particularly horror fans, watching more horror stuff during all of this. The one that I don't get is I have no urge to watch anything about like a disease or contagion horror movie, but all the other ones I totally get. So
cool. So what were some horror movies you were watching while writing The Wretched?
It's always been movies that we always go back to that are probably the biggest inspirations for is Poltergeist. And I think that's just a tonal thing because Poltergeist was really scary, but also really funny, and the characters were endearing and had fun moments. And we always wanted to get that into our film. Fright Night, obviously, with the voyeuristic aspects, yes, but also Fright Night has the same thing. It's a scary movie, but it also has tonally, it can be a lot of fun. It's got like funny moments too. But those were probably two of the big touchstones for us. But visually, like the movie, we watched the original John Carpenter's Halloween, just loved the way that movie shot. And really liked a lot of the wides and the nighttime photography. So we really tried to ape a lot of that in our film. So
Halloween's a good movie to tailor for sure.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay, so when you write, do you guys write together? How does it work? Do you guys really outline things, or do you try to dump out a first draft?
It's this funny process. Brett, who is usually like eager and wants to dive in, we get an idea and we get like a piece or two of it, and Brett usually wants to dive in and just start writing. It's kind of like two sides of the writer brain. I'm like this, I'm just a ridiculous, like obsessive sort of planner and outliner. So
Mhm.
usually simultaneously, I'm sort of like thinking about the structure while he's just jamming through a draft. And he'll get to the end and he'll have some great nuggets or some directions, but usually it doesn't come together as like a full story. And we'll pluck those out, and then usually we kind of like re-outline the whole movie and then sort of start fresh almost completely. Sometimes there's a scene or two or a couple of things that pull from it, but it's just part of the process in a weird way.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's just because it's a good thing because Drew holds me to the fire with like making sure everything works, which I want it to be that way too. But I also have this thing, if I'm excited about something, I just want to start writing it because I want that excitement to come across in anything I put on the page. But I'm also completely okay if we throw all of it away. But I do know that we're going to end up with some exciting bits and pieces that will probably still make the movie because I'm so excited in that moment. I mean, even the Wretched, I think one of those is the deer, basically the witch crawling out of the deer was
Right.
some in one of those early drafts. And it was like, I mean, I think even in later drafts, we almost talked about removing it a couple times because we couldn't figure out how to fit it in. I was just like, no, we're keeping that. I was so excited about it. It's like, it's not going anywhere.
Okay, so
Mhm.
what were the biggest challenges and rewards during this particular shoot?
I mean, I think it's weird. Once we get on the shoot, everyone else always seems like stressed out. I'm not, because I really enjoy the shoot. I just love being in the thick of it.
Yeah.
But it is extremely difficult because, like, for us, our biggest challenges are things like we shot it in northern Michigan, and it was just like early spring when we got there, and it's supposed to be kind of a summertime movie.
Mhm.
When we got there, there was like 2 feet of snow everywhere. Yeah, so it was freezing. We were waiting for the snow to melt so we could start shooting. And so even when we shot, we'd shoot these nighttime shoots, and everybody's wearing like their summer shorts and t-shirts in the scenes. Like the actors, they're freezing, and we're all concerned like, can you see their breath or not? And we're all trying to fake like
It's our summer movie, and the trees in the background are all dead still.
Yeah.
We're like, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
That's after we've seen,
Yeah.
these poor actors. Like
Yeah.
sometimes we had people right off camera that had like blankets and hand warmers and things to stuff in their shoes. And they would just, every time they'd come up to us and be like, can you tell I'm shivering? Can you see, I'm shaking?
Yeah. And then just shooting special effects scenes. Like we had a blast doing those. We had a fantastic effects artist that we worked with really closely named Eric Porn. And those are just tough though, because you just slow down. They take longer. You got to get them right before you can move on. And it's an independent film. So you're shooting effects where, like, if you're a big budget movie and you have an effect scene, that's the only thing you're going to do that day. You're going to shoot that effect scene and make sure it works. We're like, okay, we got to shoot this effect scene, and then we got to shoot these other 3 scenes,
Yeah,
So,
effect scenes take a lot
yeah,
longer because you're not shooting any coverage. It's essentially like one shot after the other. Like, it goes from shot 1 to shot 2 to shot 3 to shot 4. So each chain has to sort of work perfectly.
Yeah. But they are the most rewarding scenes to shoot because the thing we always point out is whenever you're shooting something gory, everybody from the cast and crew comes out and wants to watch, like almost like eager little kids, like watching something they shouldn't. So it's like so much fun.
Okay, who was the MVP of the crew?
Oh man,
Probably Connor Murphy.
yeah,
our DP.
Yeah,
We had interviewed a ton of DPs. We live in LA. We shot this in Michigan. We had interviewed a ton of DPs out here in LA, and some decently high profile people that had worked on significant movies and stuff. But we were concerned about a lot of them, to be honest. And we found Connor, who he'd never shot a feature. This was his first feature. But we just loved his photography, and he had done a ton of shorts. You could tell he was hungry. And, he showed up, and we immediately got along with him, creatively vibed, and he just had such a brain he actually, we storyboarded the entire movie, and a good portion of the later storyboards went through with him. So he knew every shot of the movie, and we shot listed it too. So we had this like master 500 and something shot list document to go through, and it was just great to have like one more person. The DP is the leader of the crew, essentially. Like the director is the creative leader, but the DP is like the master of the crew. It's who all the other crew members look up to and trash talk the director to. So it's great.
Yeah.
It's great to have them on your side, but also have them so creatively invested in every decision.
Yeah, he's just a great collaborator, and I love working with him and Drew at the same time because we all kind of have our different things that we want out of things, but we all kind of agree where it needs to go. So it just works out being really well. The funny thing too is he's probably one of the youngest people on set, so it's really funny to be like, hey, there's the guy who's just leading the charge in such a good way, and he's younger than most of the people he's telling what to do. So.
Well, good for him. How long have you been in Los Angeles? Or are you born and raised?
We were born and raised in Michigan. We grew up in Detroit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which was cool because we actually got to. The reason we wanted to make films is our dad, when we were like real little kids, was he was the effects artist on the original Evil Dead. And
whoa.
Yeah. So they were finishing Evil Dead in our basement when we were little babies, like the final meltdown sequence. And I would sneak down there because I was just so curious. And I was just fascinated by the fact like Dad and all of his buddies made this crazy horror movie. So that made us always want to make horror films. So.
Nice. Do you guys like living in LA? What's that like? What's the change from the D to LA?
People don't wave to you as much on the streets. Okay. Michigan, hello. Like everybody's so friendly, but LA is amazing. There's obviously like the best and worst is in LA because there's empathic, really sweet, creative people everywhere you go.
Yeah.
But there's also that percentage, that everybody in the US, like if they're a little crazy or just like I got to get out of this town and they're a little nuts.
I want to be
they
famous.
Also go to LA. So there's that 1%, vapid or vain or just self-obsessed. And that's always going to be there. I think a lot of people tend to focus like that's the 100%, but it's really like the 1 or 2%.
Yeah. It's just the one thing I really like is that you always meet people and your neighbors and stuff, and everybody works in film in some capacity. So it's kind of like, that annoying film conversation that your friends are sick of hearing about.
Right.
We're just surrounded by people that want to talk about film. So it's like, and that Drew's neighbor was an animator on The Legend of Korra, and I was just so excited about that. So it's like,
and the neighbor on the other side, he was the AC on Taken. He was the camera assistant on Taken. So it's just everywhere you go, you can't help but trip on like screenwriters or creatives.
Yeah.
It's cool, even like musicians everywhere.
Yeah.
It's the mecca for movies, and if you don't like it, if you're not interested in movies, maybe you shouldn't go to LA.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And if you want to be famous, don't go to LA either.
I think it drives my wife. My wife is a civilian, and I think sometimes it drives her a little nuts every once in a while because she gets stuck in these conversations about like the tonal differences between whatever John Wick 1 through John Wick 3. Whatever.
Yeah, I dug it. I was there last year. I was in Santa Monica.
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's the rich part of town. It's nice though.
Yeah, I was comfortable for sure. And one thing that's amazing about LA is like, you see these mansions, it's unbelievable. The wealth is nuts. And then you can get a permit for your tent.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah, it's a crazy. I mean, that's the downside of LA as an independent filmmaker is rent.
Yeah, if I were to be homeless, though, I definitely would want to be homeless in Santa Monica. That's the spot.
Oh man. Okay. So tell me why audiences will love the cast of The Wretched.
Well, we went through like an exhaustive process of finding all those people, and what we loved about the people we found is I think the real magic key to like casting up something is you find people who are actually kind of at least like one part the character that they're playing. And all the people we cast they just reminded us of the characters we had written, and it felt like they had a piece of them in them already. And it worked out so well for us. We were so happy with them. They're just all the characters for us and the people that we worked with, they're all such sweet, endearing people that went all in the movie. Like they had our back. Like they really wanted this movie to be as good as possible, and they saw what Drew I wanted to pull off. I just think like, and Drew and I try, what our biggest like credo with horror films is, I love a good horror movie, but I got to care about the people before the bad stuff happens. So we spent a lot of time with character development, trying to create arcs for the characters that even if this wasn't a horror movie, you'd still see these dramatic arcs that make you either involved or care about the characters. And I just think our cast knocked it out of the park and elevated a lot of those things, because we have quite a big cast for an indie movie. There's like 6 or 7 kind of principal characters that kind of move out. Yeah. But they all, you know, they all have arcs, even though like there's a lot of them sharing, you know, a 95-minute movie. So I don't know. It was such a good experience working with all of them. They were all, it's a nice thing when you make a film and you come out of it and you're just like, man, all those people are great. And they're friends now too. And it's funny, anytime any of them ends up on a TV show, like recently, the one guy who plays Ty in our film, Kevin Bigley, got a show on Amazon called Upload. He's one of the leads on it. And we're just so excited for him. You know, it's so cool to see.
That's legit.
It's like, yeah, he's such a sweet guy. I'm so glad that like, he hit something like that, you know?
Good stuff. All right. So, some people might find this crude, but, you know, marketing is so important in movies. If you had to say The Wretched is like one movie by the way of another movie, which 2 would you pick?
Oh, man. Okay. What did we used to say? I think like, oh man, this is so hard. I always think of it as The Wretched for me is like, it's tricky. 1 part Fright Night, 1 part The Fly.
Okay.
That's kind of how I feel about it. Yeah. I don't know if it's, you know, Fright Night meets The Fly, but it's definitely got those 2 movies, the vibe of those 2 movies in there. So
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Brett and Drew, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate the conversation. Before I let you go, may you please tell me your plans for the rest of the year?
Sitting in my apartment.
Sitting in this apartment and jamming out on story. It's a normal thing.
Yeah, we're working on a pitch right after we get off this chat with you, but we want to make a werewolf movie. So hopefully that's what's happening.
Okay.
So
that's exciting.
Yeah.
Is your favorite werewolf movie?
Oh, my favorite one's American
Werewolf. Yeah.
London.
Classic.
Yeah, that's my favorite. There's other good ones, but that's definitely
The Howling.
Top. I like The Howling, but I rewatched it recently. I didn't like it as much, which was crazy. I
really like the second Twilight.
I like The Howling 2 with Christopher Lee.
Yeah, Howling 2. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any other werewolf ones. I mean, I still love the original Universal Wolfman. It's still just Frank Cypher's the Wolfman. I love all that stuff too, but yeah, I still like Wolf. I mean, we like so many. American Werewolf is definitely number 1, but I like Wolf. I always enjoyed that. Yeah. Silly, but it's so fun. Michelle Pfeiffer and Jack Nicholson.
I'll leave the interview with this. When I was staying in Santa Monica, I was sleeping in a room with a Lon Chaney Jr. mask, and it was very strange in the middle of the day.
That sounds
all right, guys. Take care. All the best.
You too, Mike. Take care, man.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye.